Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the Donny Chaingang with me, Matt Payne, live on the Downing Cycling YouTube channel. Now, we are in London. We are back after a busy, gritty week last week with the gritty giveaways for the members of the DCG gang. Congratulations to Simon and to Ruby winning those fantastic jerseys that may be making their way over to them. I think Simon already with his one of his jerseys in, and Ruby just, I think, may well be having hers on the way, although I know she's going to be up at the Sunderland Cyclocross, which is where we're heading next weekend. But between now and then, of course, lots going on the Donny Chaingang. Tonight, this is the Open Donny Chaingang, so open to everybody. We're in London for the London Loop with the Box Hill finish, and that basically means a couple of times around the flat loop, then up to the top and through to finish. So we basically do a couple of loops, then up over the top and finish at the very top. So it just keeps it very interesting. One super smooth one, and then it gets harder and harder as we go through the usual Donny Chaingang format. Now, in addition to tonight, we also have our Women's Only Wednesday, and that is tomorrow. That's got the volcano climb, so after party, a route that we've used on the Chaingang quite a lot, being led by Emma, and that is going to be basically doing the flatter loops around the base of the volcano and around Watopia before going up onto the climb to finish. That's going to be really good tomorrow. Looking forward to that. And of course, we've also got the Chaingang on Thursday, and after having been up Box Hill tonight, people will be glad to know that we're going into Greater London Flat to head around the flatlands all the way out and round London. The staple of the Chaingang, that is on Thursday. In addition, of course, we also have lots coming up in the end of November. Next week is going to be OTE week. Our partners OTE, who have supported the Chaingang from the word go, one of our big partners, have got a massive giveaway for members of the Donny Chaingang Supporters Club, the DCG gang, and you can join that same place that you register for the race. And you find all the links on the Donny Chaingang website. That's donnychaingang.co.uk, and of course on the Facebook pages there's links in there in the introductions as well. But of course, you need to be a member and help us keep on bringing the Chaingang to you, and of course keeping the rides up on life. Now, let's have a little bit of a run across as we just take a look. Good to see that Sean Runner is still in there. Sean, you're back on your usual name. We're not going to give Simon too many mentions as Simon. He's a dual name person. He's a bit like Russ and the Bear. So we are going to try and get hold of Russ. Just having a little bit of tech issues, bouncing back in and out. Hopefully Russ is on the other end of the line. You never know on the tech days like today. It can be a good tech day. It can be a bad tech day. Hopefully today is going to be a good tech day. Let's see if we can get hold of the one and only Bear. It's for you, as the saying goes. So let's see. Have we got the Bear on the end of the line? Hello, Russ.
So let's see.
Hello, mate.
Hello. We have a Russ. We have a Bear on the other end of the phone line. This is good news.
Yeah, I got a bit of beats hanging out in the background, banging on, but got a different setup tonight. So music playing through the loudspeakers, and then just two things connected to the Bluetooth on this to see if that helps along the way. But hopefully you can hear me, guys, and hopefully you can hear a bit of the old Pete Tong in the background as well, getting me going.
Excellent, and it certainly sounds clear to me. We are back in London. We are on two of your choice this week, so they're probably a little bit more, bit less mad than perhaps my pick of the routes, it has to be said. So we are today going around the London Loop with that Box Hill finish. And I'm not sure it is that little bit less mad, because Box Hill's hard enough once, but going up it as many times as we are, that's tough stuff.
Yeah, but it's nice and controlled. So one lap easy, one lap squeeze, tempo, call it what you wish, and then those who dare wins.
Definitely going to be very interesting to see who is up at the sharp end. We have got a fair few guests on here. Big numbers tonight, 120 plus. We think we're definitely well over the 100 mark already, even with 3 minutes to go. That means, of course, the front won't see the back, and the back won't see the front as it's riding round. So can be a little bit trickier to keep that bunch together. So everybody really needs to be on their A game, don't they?
Yeah, it's not about everybody. They need to be on the B's, C's, and D's, and I need to be on my A game. So just, let me control the speed, and we'll have a good thing as the numbers are rolling up to 104, which it's great to have big numbers back, but we have to behave more and keep the blob tight. We don't want no snakes online, do we?
Definitely don't want any snakes.
We want blobs.
We definitely want blobs. And just interested to know, I was just keeping a double check. We had Nick Craig last week come in and join us, and just to join us this week, got Adrian Timmis with us. And of course, Adrian, a rider who's been seen it and done it pretty much when it comes to riding. But I think this is the first time we've seen Adrian on the Chaingang.
Yeah, it's finally nice of him to join us. He will pick a heavy one, so he'll be absolutely jumping around at the finish and goating around. But good to have Eddie. He's ridden the Tour de France, and he's a great friend of mine back in the early days of my career. And it's good to have him on board. We're giving him a bit of ribbing and got him online. I saw he followed the Chaingang earlier, so method in his madness, he wanted to be involved at long last. So,
well,
took him 18 months or something to get on board. So, yeah, cheers, mate.
Good to have him with us. And don't forget, of course, you can catch up with Russ out on Instagram and social media. No doubt he'll end up managing to find a picture somewhere of him and Adrian at some point in the dim and distant past. We're going to let you get briefing the troops. The message board was really busy in the pouring rain in London. Quite glad I'm in my dry studio, I have to admit, today. So good luck, Russ, and we'll catch up with you out on the ride.
Yeah, cheers, mate, and have a good gang, everyone. Stay around yellow. That's all we ask.
Indeed, stay around yellow is the marker, and as we start to run in towards the countdown down at the start lines, the quick run through the circuit. This is the London Loop. We have the Box Hill finish. Leading is 0.5k, basically from the chevrons in to the start of the loop. We then come around and we do 2.5 laps, which is 38.9k, finishing at the top of Box Hill at the King of the Mountains Arch at 39.4. Warm down halfway down the hill of 1.6. Total elevation climb of 625 metres. Our red beacon, the man in charge of the gruppetto today, is Keith Richardson. So a massive thank you to Keith. And as we move from our Zwift Insider and Zwift Hacks map, we're going to run across to the profile to give you an indication of what our riders have to do today, because they need to be going basically around this circuit. We've just twisted it slightly for you, but this fantastic VeloViewer tool, make sure you get joined up and signed up if you're not already, then basically allows us, it shows us exactly where we want to head, it shows us exactly what we want to see, and this gives us a really good indication of what we've got to do to get round to 2.5 laps. We basically go around this in an anti-clockwise direction, and we start off basically at the bottom left corner as you're looking at it. We have the roll-in that runs us round through and towards the bottom right-hand corner. Then we drop down in towards the tunnels from Trafalgar Square. From the bottom right to the top right-hand corner, we drop across to the tunnels, and then we climb up Box Hill. Now, the King of the Mountains point is actually at the top right-hand side of the plateau, with the very highest point after the King of the Mountains line, which can catch a few people out before we do that big descent back down again. And you can see from the colours, big ascent, big descents on this, so the riders need to be working together. Now, our riders are setting off, as you can see, the yellow beacon just taking everybody out from those pens, currently just running alongside the Thames and heading across towards the climb up towards Trafalgar Square. So we are going to jump across and dive into the ride live here on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel with me, Matt Payne, on the Donny Chaingang. So you're joining us live on the Donny Chaingang here in the heart of London. Our riders just riding along. We're just in over the top of Russ Downing, the bear himself in action. And as you can see, the gang just making its way down and underneath the bridges, just alongside, adjacent to the Thames, heading inland, and currently with the city out to the right-hand side. Big pack of riders tonight in the group, so well over the 100 rider mark, which does mean that our riders need to make sure that they keep an eye on what each other are doing, because you're not going to see everybody. The key is stay with the yellow beacon. Now, if you've not watched before, don't forget you've got lots of stats available to you. Top left-hand side is the wattage that Russ is putting out, whichever rider we're watching, 157 down to 57, back up to 36. So you see that wattage varies, it goes up and down, the revs up and running at nearly 100 revs per minute, 84 beats per minute. So Russ at the moment just ticking along nicely, warming up, and that's the whole point of having a steady start on the Chaingang. In the meantime, of course, top of the screen, 51 kph, that's our current speed. The distance that we've covered in the black kilometre numbers, just ticking over the 1.5k. 12 metres is the ascent so far, and we have 3 hours and 7 on the clock. 3 hours and 8, 3 hours and 9, 3 hours, 3 minutes and 9. You can tell it's been a long weekend, a long day already. Watching Russ from DCG, of course, and top right hand side, you can see that we have the map up and running at the gradient shown top right hand side of the map. We can actually change from our 3D satellite view to a 2D zoomed in and zoomed out. As you can see at the moment, though, the red beacon already having to drop back to do some patrolling of the group. I think we've got a number of riders further back, and this is where you're going to see exactly what we mean by getting the nearest 100 riders. So we're going to just take a little bit of a run back down the group to Keith Richardson. So Keith, our red beacon at the back, and you're just going to start to see as those riders appear directly in front. Basically, you get the nearest riders, 100 riders now, and that means that at the moment we've got Josh Mayland, we've got Dave Owens, I think it is going to be, if I'm correct. Dave Owens, indeed it is. So we've got Dave, Josh and Keith Richardson at the moment trying to push on from the back. The back of the bunch, well, this is Mantis at the minute with Jimmy Allen. I think we've just seen Jimmy just starting to drop back there to go help out at the back. So Jimmy already just being aware that he needs to just take a little bit of a run back down. We're going to drop back to that group at the back, because at the moment the red beacon has bodies in front of him. So Keith at the moment kicking out 4 watts per kilo just to keep it rolling up here, just trying to close up to the group. We've got Dave Owens in between, Josh Mayland about to make contact. Yep, he's into the group. So Owens in front at the moment. So this is Owens that we can just see. Dave Owens at the moment in front of our red beacon, who's sweeping tonight, and sweeps usually running around that 2.5 watts per kilo, or the back of the group. Basically, if the group is capable of going for more than 2.5 watts per kilo, then our sweeps will generally pick up beyond that. Just taking a little bit of a look back from Keith. I think Keith just pushing his way into the back of the pack here. So it's Keith, our red beacon, then it's Dave Owens just jumping onto the back of the group. Looks like Craig Herring and Jimmy Allen here. Jimmy, of course, the wall fast beacon, who is in when Russ isn't here. Nice for Craig to wave. Don't think I missed it, mate. Just might not be on my A+ game, but the A game's floating around somewhere today. So good to see Craig Herring, the man in that grey down in cycling kit, and Jimmy Allen just dropping back that little bit. That just gives people a little bit of a chance to drag onto the back, to get that little bit of an aerodynamic drag that little bit earlier. Just a little bit further back, you can just see Craig Herring just tucked on the back here, and I think going to see Keith just sticking onto the back, that gap coming down. So Keith Richardson just making his way up a little bit, still fractured. We've got this sort of second group off the back here, just distanced from that front group, you can see. So the big pack at the front already ticking on very, very quickly at the front. So Russ welcoming Adrian Timmis. If you don't know who Adrian Timmis is, where have you been in cycling all this time? Adrian Timmis, a very adept mountain biker, very adept rider when it comes to cross, but known mostly for riding on the Tour. I think it's the ANC Halford squad, if I remember correctly, when he rode the Tour. And of course, a rider who we know more than capable of riding and comfortably being in the Olympic Games as well, so an Olympian too. So a good all-round rider, somebody who helps a lot of people, and now a coach as well. So the gang in here, just getting the check on. I think at the moment he's likely to be focused on actually staying with the gang. So let's see how everybody is going. We do know that he's a consummate rider when it comes to Swift, but we'll see how he gets on the back. So Adrian onto the Chaingang. Let's see how it goes. I am loving all the people's memories. There was unlucky spam with idiots opening car doors in front of him. So just still watching our riders just come up over the top. If you're at the back, you need to push into the back of the pack as you come over the top of the climbs. If you're on the front, as you come up over the climb, then what we need to do is to ease off. So if you're on the front of the group, ease off over the top of the climb. If you're at the back, you need to push in over the top of the climb into the back of the pack. That is the way it works to keep the group together, as you can see at the moment. And we're talking about not having a stake. It's one very long line. It might be quite anaconda-like rather than some very thin grass snake, but definitely not one big blob. It has to be said at the moment. So let's take a little bit of a look up. We've just got the helicopter up and flying, got a drone up in the air over the riders. So let's have a little look. So the back of the pack at the moment, as we go down through Parliament, it's looking a little bit on the fractured side as they come through. Good to have Andy Hawes back on the Chaingang as well. We're going to let Russ do a little bit of controlling and pulling everybody together. It is a little bit all over the place with people. Plenty of excuses coming piling in, it has to be said. Bring back the blob. I'm loving Vin Donny Hughes. Ignore your watch, use your eyes. Look for yellow. It's not wrong. Really easy. Having said that, having been out and riding on Zwift today, did a couple of rides. One, very nicely controlled, I have to say. Really nice. Not quite Chaingang standards, but pretty close. One, oh my goodness. It was all over the place properly. It was absolutely bobbins. There's no other word. Absolute bobbins. So, all over the place at the back of the gang at the moment. It's only going to get worse as we go into the tunnel. So I think the bear get a little bit of a poke because the group not holding together well at the back of the group. You can just see this isn't even the back of the pack at the moment. This is just the ones you can see. If we take a trip back to Keith Richardson, you can just see Keith and Neil just having to push on here. Craig Herring up at the back. The back of the bunch is some 15 seconds up the road at the moment. So just watching Craig Herring here, just shepherding people back up into that front group. People often say, yeah, how do you choose who you're going to focus on? Well, generally we choose the people who play the game, those people who help others out. There's kind of high priorities when it comes to the chain gang, because that's how it is meant to work. Everybody supporting each other. So just see Mr. Taylor just on the gang here, just pushing onto the hill here. So Simon Taylor currently at 3.8 watts per kilo, just trying to climb his way up onto the group, and just taking a little bit of a look back. Looks like this is the back of the group. We can ignore Kieran Smith, who's going to no doubt go walloping up past the beacon at the moment. Everybody knows Kieran more than capable of holding on in wherever, and I think not likely actually to realistically be on there. So this is what we want to see. Proper giving it up. So if Jimmy Allen has just lost everybody. Jimmy, if you've got us on the YouTube feed, Jimmy, you are currently sitting off the back, so we'll just try and give Jimmy a little bit of assistance to work out where he is. Just keep a check. So Jimmy, you can pick it up a little bit, mate. Looks like the time check's just coming into Jimmy from the group. We can just push on, and it looks like that group now, after that initial bumpy start, just starting to pull back together again. And Jimmy's now back on again, which is what we want to see. Let's have a little look as we've got everybody together. So we've got Mark Tickhill in the gang. Always good to see Mark in the group here. So Ticker's riding well in the group. Russ just rolling around the back here. Dave Micklethwaite in here. Dave, of course, another of the legends of Yorkshire cycling, nicely tucked into the group here. Ben from Fellow Viewer. Well, everybody will have seen the Fellow Viewer graphics if you're watching, because of course we use them not only in the YouTube, but all of the members of the DCG gang also get that. Interestingly, Ben, she's in a nice lightweight frame with lightweight wheels here to get as much advantage as it comes up onto the climb. Just seeing Lauren O'Brien in with us. Lauren, again, another of our regular riders, one of our younger riders as well. And you can just see going for the aero option, and that basically means got a great chance of staying with the group on the flat sections. Our lighter younger riders, people like Mark, generally it's the flat sections where they struggle, and the faster downhill sections, whereas the uphill bits, well, unlike people of my sort of stature, tend to find the uphill bits easy. We don't now. Got Mr. Osman in here, Morgan Lloyd, I know, is in with us, Tim Cooper in, Tim, of course, one of the key men when it comes to keeping the show on the road. Good to see Tim in here as well. He's been out mountain biking, finally made it back down from Scotland as well. Let's have another look through. Neil from the Gritty clearly got the beast calibrated and going lightweight again to be in on the uphill. Somebody who we know is going to likely be in with the group as we come in. Just taking a look, Ian Taylor, the man who is stitching together the DCG, the 12 DCGs of Christmas. Ian Taylor from 1080, the man who's given away 2 pairs of Oakleys, I think, are on the prize list. A whole load of kit from Saddleback. Nonna's, of course, joining in with those 12 DCGs as Christmas as well. And in here from 1080, just in front of the DCG Addict. Actually has to go to DCG's Anonymous and hold up a hand. It is the one and only Tiff Fletcher in with the group. Good to catch up with Tiff at the cross at the weekend. They're supporting Tracy in her preparations, getting ready for the World's Masters, which is going to be down at Ipswich. Looking forward to being on the mic there and catching up with a lot of people who ride the chain gang. Speaking of nonnas, we have the one and only Stefano Borelli. Stefano, of course, the main man when it comes to looking after chain gang riders and so on at nonnas. And we did see Russ and Dean just nipping down, having a brothers tea out at nonnas. Great to see them down there and enjoying their time down in the restaurant down in Sheffield. Maddie Smith still in here. Good to see Maddie in with us. So Maddie in here. Got Mr. Barker in. Let's have a look. We've got Mr. Forrester in here. Greg Pillsworth in here. Brad Cheeseman in, no doubt, bantering with the boss Vin Donahue. Tim Leary in here. Mr. Llewellyn, looks like does it in. Gail Phillips in the spreadsheet supremo herself. Great rider, Gail. Good to see she's in with the gang. Just having a little bit of a look. Looks like Tracy Seeley back in the gang, and again another rider who has moved from the women's Wednesdays into the full open Chaingang as well. And great to see the gang rolling well together here. Looks like Russ just holding that pace, steady, controlling it from the back, and just taking a little bit of a run down to the back. Good to see Mr. Coyle in here. Congratulations, Loris. Saw you got your had your graduation ceremonies not all that long ago, and just having a little run down. Now, just taking a quick look at Mr. Timmis here on the Chaingang, and riding on that Pinarello here. It's got some nice light rims, even though they're aero. Those are a pretty light combination. So it looks like the one and only Nick Craig on the Chaingang as well. So somebody who knows Adrian well. Not spotted him as yet in with the group, but looks like riding well in with the pack. Do find that you can't always see everybody on our broadcast screen, which is always entertaining when we're trying to cover everybody. Key is to try and stick around the yellow beacon. It always guarantees you some serious airtime if you're round and about Russ. Looks like we've got Andy Hawes back on the gang. Andy in here, so good to have Andy back in with us. So Andy, the man in charge of riding the Tour of Britain, the Women's Tour of Britain. So let's see how it is rolling. Looking very good at the moment. Let's take a little bit of a run down here. So when we don't get to see everybody, generally what it means is that they're rolling on a different system. Quite often iPad, anyone rolling on an iPad does have a tendency to be missing from the screen. So looking good as our riders are making their way up here. Remember, this is the first ascent of Box Hill. If we take a little bit of a zoom out, you can see the bottom of the map screen, the little graphic at the bottom shows we're nearly halfway up the main ascent, but we have gone past the left and right hand turns here. Just taking a little bit of a look, looks like Clark and Richardson, the car, just rolling at the back here, so nicely on the bike. So just keeping a check here, so looks like Hart just feeling the pace a little bit here. We've got a pocket full of ride-on so already. Let's have a little look. So Keith here just trying to keep that pressure, just trying to keep it rolling, just give Luke a little bit of assistance to roll back in. Looks like Dick Samuel just in here as well. So Jim Flynn just sticking in that power up. The power up with a feather basically reduces your body weight by about 10%, so knocks off the power, keeps keeping the pressure off, and helps you on the ascent if you are struggling on those climbs. So it's one of the favourites on a hilly route. It's definitely absolutely no use on a flat route like Tempest Future, as I well and truly found out today. You see Brad is back in with us. Brad Cheeseman, one of our youngsters on the road, getting quick, so I'd say doing well at the moment. Just keeping a check here. So Luca rolling along and just keeping the thumbs up coming, which is what we want to see. We want to see those riders. Kieran in here clearly going for a workout, because Kieran Looks like he's gone for the, still got the mountain bike on. He may well have swapped it. It's just not updated on the screens, like often happens. And the group rolling well as they make the way up towards the top. Gang pretty much all together. Russ tucked into this group along with our red beacons. They just come up to the back here, but you can see if we roll up, we don't need to go very far up the group, and you'll see we don't get to see just how many people are tucked on the back. But if we do start to drop back down magically, if we go down to where Mr. Richardson is, we see all those who are sandwiched in between the bunch and our red beacon. So the red beacon group just distance a little bit, currently about 7 seconds off the back of the main bunch. In fact, 8 seconds off the back of the main bunch. Dave Micklethwaite, Jim Flynn and Dick Samore just going to be bridging that gap across, and you can just see the gap behind Dave here just opening up. Don't forget, as we see Neil from Gritty Neil, also the host of the Crosscast, and it's always my pleasure when we go record a Crosscast episode. The latest Crosscast episode recorded by Neil, myself, and Bruce Dalton, and absolutely great to catch up with the guys as we were up there. So coming up over the top, here comes the name and shame moment, and Josh Mayland, a man who should know better. 10:41, dearie me. And you can see nobody else has even got there. Let's see if anybody else comes through. As they come through, you'll soon see who was off the front of the group. So the name and shame screen on the left-hand side, you'll see just what that gap is. So you can see Taylor and Nick Reynolds, we couldn't see Nick so far up the front, but the main group coming through at 12:22. 12:22 to a 10:41. That shows you the difference. 12:22 to 12:26. You can see the big bunch of riders in here. So good to have. We've got Lindsay Clark with us, Tracy Seeley, Claire Richardson, Ruby Isaac, Tiffany Fletcher, Maddie Smith, Gail First and Lauren O'Brien, all nicely packed into the bunch there. The main group in the men's world, that was led over, the bunch led over there by, I think it's Brigham Lee Madison, Jimmy Allen to be fair, at the front of that pack with Nick Craig in that group. In front of Nick, a 7-second gap, that clearly shows that's where the rest of the gang was. But if we take a little bit of a look up with the camera now, we'll try and get the drone in the air. This is a good indicator just how tough it is, because you can see riders now being distanced off the back. We go over, we've gone through the section of the main part of the climb. We are now seeing the group starting to get themselves back into the gang at the back. Just seeing Keith Richardson pushing on here. We've got Douglas just in front. So it looks like Douglas, Tickers, Flynn, just all really pretty close. Tickers and Flynn close to the back of that main bunch. Remember, Russ just drop to give these guys a chance to get back on again. If we drop back to Keith, you can see Douglas in between at 8 seconds, just pushing on. But the moment we go over the top, that gap will open up. You'll soon see it on the map. If we zoom out, you'll see the front of that pack start to just zip away on that downhill and suddenly open up the gaps on everybody else as they go up over the top and head off into the distance. So now on to the downhill. This is where the red beacon really does have to work to start to pull people back. Tickers, Douglas, all trying to push on here to try and get onto the wheels on the way down. Jim Flynn on his way down. You can see Keith, he's actually one of our real fast riders when it comes to Chaingang. I've just seen 10 watts per kilo come out of Keith on his way down this descent. So we'll keep an eye on our red beacon, just pulling the gang to come down in together. You can see that yellow beacon at the back of the group. It's going to be a serious regroup required on the bottom of the slope as they make the way down here on the Donny Chaingang live here on the Downey Cycling YouTube channel, and it looks to me like those gaps are on there. Just got been through a couple of pauses on that. I said that was quite simply because we were just grabbing a little bit of evidence of those people who were ripping it up off the front. Don't forget, of course, the registration system allows us basically to yellow card people, to give them a warning and then to remove them from the ride and prevent access again in the future if they do rip it up. That is how we keep the gang having such a good reputation for holding everything together. That's where we get people like Nick Craig and Adrian Timmins coming onto the game because they know it's going to be a controlled workout. So riding in with Russ at the moment. And Russ, the beacon that everybody's aiming for. Keith Richardson currently at 8 seconds deficit. Russ at the moment about 15 seconds off the nearest group. So the group are pulled well apart. So it looks like London wet once again. So Bobby Mason just kicking his way up into the back, just having joined again by the look of it. If you join, key is make sure you hammer in those pedals to get a rejoin. Always a good way to get a rejoin into the group. Looks like Brad Cheeseman just holding on in there. Dave Fulton at the minute actually currently sat just the back Keith, so Dave just having to put that power up in. So Keith Richardson currently 8 seconds deficit on Russ as the riders go up the escalators. Things definitely kicking in at the front and taking a toll on the riders' power as they go up over onto those escalators. So up into the escalators, just watching these riders coming up onto the top. Good to see Dave Owens on the message board. Good to have you on the Chaingang set. Always good to have a chat with people who's catch up with people who are, we see out and about in different walks of life. So got Jim Flynn and the gang here just starting to push. So Mr. Douglas there had a 1-year-old knee coming in and clattering like that is definitely not good news. That's not what you want. So just taking a look down on the map at the moment. If we take a run up into the air, the days of weather not helping the gang at all because visibility absolutely mullered. You look at those time gaps. So Craig Herring at the moment at the back of the pack. Then Mantis and Big Tex now chasing on. Douglas having to chase on as well. Then it's going to be Fulton. Then Tickhill. And then it's going to be Flynn, and then behind Flynn I think we've got Richardson. So about 10 riders are on the way through, and at the moment it is absolutely mullered out there, and the pace definitely not being held at the moment by the group. Our cameras rolling up and down, and it's definitely very yo-yo-y tonight on the pack, and definitely not holding together all that well. So it looks like our gruppetto forming here. This is going to be Keith Richardson, the bus driver for tonight, as we make our way down just alongside. You just see the Tower of London right behind. So Richardson, Tickers and Flint all together are 3 riders in this pack now. Time for them to get into a rhythm and start to keep that pace rolling. They are currently the second group on the road. Because if we take a run up to the back of the pack, it looks like they are just in that group. Jimmy Allen just pushing on here. The group behind at 40 seconds. That bus formed. Nobody going to be going back. It looks like Jimmy Allen just with a little bit of a drop on his way out of the back. So just seeing them moving on. That'll teach you, Jimmy, just to talk to me on the message board. We do have multiple conversations going at once. So if ever I seem oddly distracted, it's not just because I'm actually watching 4, 5 screens, 6 screens. It might have something to do with watching all the message boards at once. Now, Kieran Smith just sitting on the back here. And we have Nick. Oh my goodness, we can see Nick Craig, the one and only Nick Craig, the living legend that is. Ready for Scott, currently brand new. Literally, he came on and his first Zwift ride was Donny Chaingang on last Tuesday. What baptism of fire coming out on the mountain bike route. Then his second ride was on La Reine and rode that with after the tech issues on his way through. Now Nick having to push to get himself into the group. If we take a look at Nick's stats at the moment, kicking out 200 watts, and that's not a lot of power, but he doesn't need all that much because he doesn't actually weigh anything. Nick generally, though, pretty much, I think my lad's lunches weighs more than Nick Craig's. Probably most of Nick Craig when he's wet through on a mountain bike ride in the Peak District. But Nick at the moment, powering along, 109. That's heart rate, almost matching the rest per minute. You can see that cadence really, really high as he just goes past Beefy from Cycleways. 316 watts now coming out. So Nick working to get back on again. Looks like Jimmy Allen just starting to drop back, just to give Jim some assistance. So Nick some assistance here. So Jimmy Allen just going back a little bit. Let's take a little bit of a look here. So just seeing Nick Craig going on and Jimmy Allen starts to wind it up. And you can just see here, just going to give Nick some work to get back on, some assistance in that draft. Just 2 people together. If a few more people come off the back of the group, just ease it back out. That basically means that they are going to get a little bit closer. So it looks like Jimmy Allen and Nick Craig just working well together now. Big Tez needs to start to kick this just up in front because he's just about to get caught by the express train that is Jimmy Allen and Nick Craig. Good company to be in as you close in on the back of the bunch here. So through they go. And you can just see the pace of Craigie going through here with Jimmy Allen just getting themselves quickly back on the bunch. Rich Orrell just drifting back. Don't need to drift back for long when these two are coming. Here you go, Rich just kicking up. You can see those watts per kilo going up to 4 watts per kilo. Got to get this timing right, going back and then kicking back into the group, or you get caught in no man's land and you'll be getting swept up by our red beacon, Keith Richardson. So they're going back and functioning kind of how it's meant to. It's a little tricky if we do get people sandwiched in between, and Nick quickly up into that big pack. Now, main group about to take that right hand turn. Let's get out in and across towards the other side of the bridge. They start to make their way through. Nice big blob, that's what we're looking for. Big group of riders all together, squeezing together. They're going to be pushing up onto this climb, and that is exactly what it should look like as we move up on to the climb. It's all about keeping that group together. That's a nice big pack in around Russ. if we take a run back to Keith Richardson, you can just see appearing the riders in that Beacon group is sandwiched in between at the moment. It's Beatty from Cycleway, so Colin Bell at the moment after either a dropout or an unplanned stop, I think, now having to push on, and Colin on that Tron bike just having to squeeze on those pedals. Meanwhile, back of the pack, Jimmy Allen, the man who no doubt will be aiming to go for a long one. Don't want to give away all those secrets as he moves up on to the top. So with that group finally allegedly all together, we may well be able to get in touch with the one and only Bear, but we will see if we can manage that. It's, I know he has been working hard to try and get everybody back together again, and we'll have a little bit of a look at his heart rate before we go diving in too soon into catching up with the Bear. Let's see how he's doing at the moment. Well, he's over 100 beats per minute already. That shows you just how hard he's having to work to keep the gang together. So the group not quite one big blob, but definitely pretty much one bunch, with the exception of our group at the back. So let's take a check. Who else do we have in this group? We've got Rich Orrell in here. Rich, another of our regular on the Donny Chaingang, riding that down in cycling kit as he makes his way through. I think I've just seen Simon Warren just on his way through. So we're going to dive in and see. I think we may well have on the end of the line the one and only Russ Downing. Russ, are you there?
Yeah, I didn't even hear you ring me before. The beats must be too loud.
Well, it was. It's been a bit frantic on the way through, hasn't it? I mean, it's been yo-yoing in and out, and we know we've got the new Swift dynamics in there that are much more realistic in terms of if you move into the wind, you really do get hammered for it. So it always pays to try and stay in the group, but not all that easy necessarily. But a little bit snakes and ladders to start off with.
Yeah, it was pretty up and down, but you know, we've calmed down now. As we say, we're just about to go over the bridge, and yeah, I'll probably get dropped, but you know, everyone's coffee's wearing off, and we're all settling down, and yeah, it's a big blob, you know, still over 105 people online, and so it's never easy to control that, but I think we're there now, you know, as I just roll to the front. So yeah, legs have come around.
It's holding together well, and we've got that red beacon forming after that first climb, but the red beacon group at the moment looks like that is going to be our three riders, so great to see Jim Flynn, Mark Tickhill and Keith Richardson together. And Keith, a really strong rider, isn't he? And this is what we really love about the red beacon, because all to us, it's a really strong rider who's going back and just giving up their night's ride at the front to go back and actually help everybody come through and to work with those riders, and that's brilliant to see.
Yeah, it's what the DCZ is all about, you know, getting the slower riders sort of fitter and deeper into the ride, and you know, it's great. You know, I think it was Stefano the other day. He was going to stop with like 40 minutes to go, and they got him to the top. So you know,
yeah,
shows a bit of encouragement. They can stop people from getting off their turbos and watching Coronation Street or something. So it's all good fun.
I didn't realise Stefano was a Coronation Street fan, but now I do, obviously. It's thanks for that.
He loves it, mate. Absolutely loves it.
Well, now we know, clearly, Corrie fan, Stefano Borelli. It'd be, I never realised that's what that hidden room at the back of Nonna's was. It was his little shrine to all things Coronation Street. Now we know.
Yeah, we're just on the bottom of Box Hill, so I dropped the phone. Apologies, and yeah, we're going to try and get as many people over here as possible, you know, but you know, not like last time and really waiting. So we're gonna squeeze. So
Yeah, we're expecting to see a few bodies just going. Already seeing from Keith Richardson, if we go from Keith and Jim, Colin Bell currently sitting about 30 seconds down on your group. You've got Dave Owens just been distanced, so Dave Owens sandwiched in the gap. It looks like Paul Malin now off the back of that group. So we are seeing ones and twos now dropping off the back of the group, and I think Morgan Lloyd at the moment holding the back of the pack. So the group just about holding together, but let's see what it's like by the time we get to the very top of Box Hill, because I think that's likely to have changed by the time we get up there.
Yeah, I think it will. You know, we're just about to do the right turn now, where it does start to get a bit steeper. So, I won't say let the games begin, because that's going to be when the words are spoken. But this one's going to be squeezy, as you can tell. I've gone over 110 beats per minute, so I'm obviously trying.
You were doing that when we came to you, mate. I hate to break it to you. Right, we're going to let you crack on, because you're up onto the club and you're going to need to do some breathing as well as talking. So good luck, Russ. We'll try and catch up with you probably realistically now when we get over that line.
Sounds like a good plan, and yeah, cheers for the commentary, and great job, gang, and yeah, see you at the top.
And we'll see you on the other side. So great to catch up with Russ there. Let's dive back into the ride and see where we're at with our riders. Just going to jump up with our drone cam if we can. The screens all around here showing us lots of different things. If you're not seeing the shot into the studio, follow us on Facebook. That's Matt Payne on Facebook. You actually, there's a fair few shots on there of just how Starship Enterprise is. Don't forget, of course, the membership, getting insights into the rise, as well as the behind the scenes, the members of the Donny Chaingang Supporters Club, and we have great giveaways as well, and discount codes to say thank you to those people who donate and keep the show on the road. So a massive thank you to them. Without them, the Chaingang doesn't happen. Now we're just going to drop in with Steve Cannons at the moment. Steve just on the back of this pack. He's got Paul Malin there, and Ruby Isa. Ruby has done a good ride here, because Ruby would have been really starting to struggle with those pace on the downhills and on the flat sections, but Ruby has held to the spot to what is going to be about a quarter of the way up the climb, and Ruby now pushing back into that group at 5 watts per kilo there, just seeing from Ruby Isaac. So come on, Ruby, this is where you need to push. Get into that group and sit on that yellow beacon. Don't let him go. Get your hand on his back pocket and get a toe on the way up. Russ doesn't weigh anything anyway. He won't notice you. You don't weigh anything either. It's not like if I get hold of Russ's back pocket, he comes to a standstill. Next up, let's take a little bit of a look. Looks like Rasmussen just being distanced a little bit here. We're just going to take a little bit of a look. It is all over the place at the moment. So we are going to have to just take a little bit of a jump back, a bit of a magic jump. Let's go back out and back in. Look at that. As if by magic, we're back up with leaders. One of the people who should know this climb inside out, Simon Warren. Mr. 100 climbs himself, and from never riding on. So just quickly amassed the 50,000 metres to get his concept bike in there. Not really a surprise, just riding alongside Ben from fellow viewer Ted in here as well, still riding strongly. Mr. Miles Curry in here. Let's have a little look at, looks like 80 reps per minute at the moment from Adrian Timmis, still ticking along nicely in the group. Henry full of backing. You can see Henry's back in with us again. Jefferson, Carl Briggs sitting in this group. I think that's going to be Craig Herring in here as well. Just taking a run down. I'm sure I've just seen Tracy Seeley go through in that pack. Luke Hart in here. Looks like Steve Hilbert holding in here. Clark, looks like Sudbury in here, Mr. West, James West in here, the gang holding nicely in here. Looks like Rowan Dubash, Dr. D himself in the green, another of our regulars on the Chaingang, tucked in nicely in this group. Dan Ladle, good to see Dan back with us. Good to have you back, Dan. Dan, one of my former club mates, in fact. Dan Ladle. Super fast road, some very fast legs. We're good to have Dan back in with us. Andrew Watson in here. Looks like the gang working well here, and at the moment the back of the pack actually being held by Russ here. So Russ pretty much rolling at the back there. Nick Craig, just come on, Nick, time to push on here, mate. Don't get distanced on this section of the climb. The squeeze is starting. You're on a relatively light bike on that Swift bike with lightweight wheels. So the gap opening up. Remember, it's 6 meters, that draft effect. And Nick and Dave Micklethwaite, two riders who I'm sure will have raced against each other, just rolling the way up the hillside, just squeezing back into that group. So Craigie pushing on now, time to squeeze in. Nick really needing to push here, just going past Spencer. You just see those watts per kilos pushing up the way to play the game. Sit in on that yellow beacon, literally pile on top of Rusty if you can. So Stefano Pirelli now starting to be his distance. Taylor just starting to go backwards a little bit. We're going to go drop down back about 3 minutes here, back to our red beacon group who are riding well together. So Jim Flynn, Keith Richardson and Tickers in here together, and in front it is Taylor, then Borelli. So they have quite a long way to wait if they're waiting for that red bus. I would suspect what they need to do, if Borelli and Taylor work together, they've got a chance of not being distanced too far. Spencer though now distanced off that group, and just seeing Llewellyn now just at the back of this group, having to squeeze back in. So just seeing Dustin just at the back here, he's having to push now as the pace has started to lift. Jones on the back here, Mr. Osman as well, just sitting in the back. Russell Osman, Dixon Moore, Paul Mallin, Lawrence Coyle around the back here. Now we know Lawrence more than capable of being at the very front of this pack, so just biding his time, I think. And again, interesting to see, gone for a quite an aero bike here to keep the pace in the group. Interesting to see a number of people on discs at the moment, so I think that might well be Sean. We're just seeing here, so Sean just on a disc on that Scott frame, but with the DI cut disc, the lightest, fastest disc, but looks like Sean after holding that time, holding into that point, now just starting to feel the pressure. Dave Owens, Paul Mallin, Steve Cannon's just about holding the back of this pack. As we go up here, the front of the group, it's all together now. It looks like Langmead is the rider just sitting on the back of the pack. So Langmead just pushing his way into that group with Mallin. We're just going to drop back to Keith again. Keith still riding nice and strongly here, rolling around that 2 watts per kilo. Beefy from Cycleways, Colin Bell sandwiched in between. Steve in there as well. That's Steve from the Clarion. That's Steve just making his way through. And then Stefano Pirelli in front, and then it's going to be Spencer, but then we're up to Sean Ferran. Jones now distance. Owens off the back. He's lost that group now. I think he's really got to push if he's going to get himself back in again. But if we go up onto the back of this pack, just take a little bit of a zoom out, you can see everybody fits on that screen nicely. It's not the reason we want it to happen, just an added bonus as these riders make their way up here. Nice to see this pack all together. So the group are running well. You can just see bodies just starting to disappear off the back, and the problem will come that when you get to the very top of the group, as you come up over that crest, the gaps will open up, and as it goes over the crest, the front speed up, the distance between, even though the time gap's the same, the distance increases, and it ensures that you're just not going to get on. If you cannot stay on that group, you're going to find yourself in trouble as you come up and over the top. Let's jump in with Andy Verrill. Andy, of course, one of our regulars, now fast becoming a regular on the Chaingang. Great to have Andy in. Andy, a man who has helped so many people in their careers in bike riding, and a handy rider himself, and definitely one of the people who we'd love to see back in on the Chaingang once again. So Andy in that Belgian kit, just making his way around those turns, and I think as we're going to be coming in through towards the summit once again, it's going to be nice and smooth as they come in and through, and everybody realising that it pays just to hold on to those wheels as they go through. So the group are just about holding together. Andy Hall's in this pack, holding tight. Josh Mayland now back in with the group once again. I don't think he's going to get any year rate this time round, so he's going to be appreciating that. Ted tucked into the group. Mike Douglas back in here, Bevan Jones in here, and you can just see as we go up over the top. The thumbs up are raining down. It is a super quick ride tonight as we go over the top. If you're not on the very front, the gaps do start to open and you can soon be in trouble. Now, just going to jump in with Xander Graham here. So, Xander, I'm loving the hairdo, mate. You just dream of having hair like that, really. Xander, one of our youngsters, the 12-year-old from Scotland, who for those of you who don't know the story of Xander's racing, a real regular rider and racer. Very, very quick, a rider on the DCG. And Xander, known for his riding up alongside the riders away in the break on the Tour of Britain and handing up a bottle to the Jumbo Visma man, who then proceeded to bring him up onto the stage. Another of our youngsters, Mark Etchingham, in here. So a marker for under 14 riders. Very, very strong rider, particularly when we get onto the uphill sections. You can just see as we go up here. This is one of the steeper sections as we go up over the top, though it starts to ease off here as we make our way up over the top. Just seen Tracy Seeley still in the group. We've got Claire Richardson still riding nice and strongly in here. I think Maddie Smith still in here. Gail Phillips in the group as well. Lauren O'Brien in there. So this group are working well as we go onto the descent down the side of the hillside here in the Surrey Hills. The magic powers to Swift enabling us to zip into the underground and magically reappear, a bit like it feels in real life on the underground. Back out once again as you come back out this time. Then you come out into the Surrey Hills now. Just starting to see those gaps open up. We're going to just drop out here, and if you look at the map at the top, split forming halfway through this group. So just at the back of this group of riders here, let's get that drone up in the sky. You get a better idea if we can get up above the riders. You can just see two groups starting to form. You see it's the back of the front group of group number one. Then the gap opens up, and behind this group, I'm just trying to take a run back. It's about 3 seconds. This is now group number two on the road. They are being distanced on this downhill. They weren't quite on the paces. They went up over the top of the steep section. Now on this descent, that has taken its toll because the pack has got strength in numbers, and those strength in numbers are just starting to stretch it out. So if you're in here, you've got to get in and close that split down. Now, Lawrence Coyle knows this. He's really having to work hard here. They've got to go quick. Xander Graham being shelled out that front group here. He's got to get in. This split could do damage. Lawrence Coyle, one of our fast riders, and look at this big group of riders behind. That front pack have hammered down there. That has opened the gap up, and all of a sudden the riders have been taken apart here. And this is when it has all gone pear-shaped for the riders behind, because you can just see the front group have gone. The back group now split with some big names in here. So it looks like Craig Herring's in there, and the Go has gone. So they missed the split at the top. They couldn't hold it on the top, and the Go has gone. That means that the front now has got no brakes on. There's no limiter holding the pace on here. Let's keep an eye on the man from Cadence Sport working his way up through. I think that is going to be, well, it's got to be the team now. It's not Uttinger, and you can see it has absolutely piled apart on that climb. Those people who didn't hold the wheels are now going to pay the price here as we come into the climb. And the go going. It was held late, but it meant that what happened is that the riders who didn't pay attention over the top of the climb couldn't stay together. They got hammered, and now the gap has gone on the descent down just as it started to level out. And it means that this is going to be tough stuff. Now, if you do get distance from a group, make sure you drop back and find another one. There is always the red beacon at the back to catch you. And this is how it works. Basically, find a group, find some friends, ride into that finish together, support each other, give each other the encouragement. The rain has stopped, the sun's out in London. It's a nice day out there, and this is where it's got to go. Russ isn't really sorry. He knows that it's got to be tough stuff. Remember, it's a ramp workout. It's regularly, not everybody stays together. We wait for everyone to stay together. We never call the go. It's about having that ramp, and it's all about paying attention, learning that you've got to sit on that yellow beacon. You cannot afford to let that gap go. Once that comes apart, you are in trouble. You can see the frantic chase on behind the group here. Just seeing Jim Brown, I think, just kicking his way onto the back of the pack here, being joined by Elliot. We're just going to try and take a little bit of a run back here to this group now. This is the second group on the road, and Miles Curry just having to put in a big effort here. He's going to bring across Tom Lindley, Rich Orrell. I think Maddie Smith's in this group. Come on, guys, you've got to work together to get yourselves back on into this pack. So look at this big second group coming across here. Taylor Leach in here. Looks like Andy Watson in here joining this group. So look at this. This bunch has come back together somewhat with the work that's been done behind it so far out, and people not wanting to put too much effort in before they hit the start of the climb. It's left the door open for people to come back on to that group now. 4 seconds back, the next group being led here by Woodall, and they need to work together. Lauren O'Brien here, Luke Hind, Greg Pillsworth, Mantis, Jason Stevens. They need to work with Woodall, or they're not going to bring that group back. The pack in front is a big pack. It looks like one rider at least on the offensive, just winding it up on the front. Now, who is going to be the rider on front? Just trying to get up there to try and take a quick check of who it's going to be. And it's Craig Genther who's gone early. So Craig Genther has pushed his way in through the line there, still sitting at 6 watts per kilo. So Craig Genther has gone. He saw all the groups coming back together again. He wants to split it back up again. And that second group, they're only a few seconds behind. If that big yellow pack hesitate too much, they are going to be in trouble. Now you can see that time around that Maddie Smith, Claire Richardson, Lauren O'Brien all coming through. Richardson and Smith in the front group, catching in and putting in a really fast time. The front group at 25.35, again another fast lap around there. That is tough stuff. Meanwhile, Craig Genther out on his own on the front behind. Then you can just see Jones and Co. This is the chasing group. This is the chasing bunch that are trying to close Craig down. And Craig Genther doing a great job here. He's still staying clear up at the front of this group, getting some encouragement from in the back as well. I'm not surprised. 6 seconds the gap. If we take a look back, he's got the gap on them. So if he could take this into the climb, it would give him a good chance going right the way up to the top. But that is a huge pack of riders behind, and they're closing in. Let's get that camera flipped around behind. You can just see they're coming down now at 3 seconds. That group's got Nick Craig. It's got Rob Taylor in there. Looks like OZK in this group behind as well. And look at that pack out across the road coming from him. We need some Jaws music at this moment in time because it's absolutely mad. Now, Jimmy Allen knows how to do. Leave him out there to cook. Exactly. Make him work hard. He's on his own. Keep him out and working. But as soon as this group comes back together, then we're going to see what happens. Who's going to go quickly on the counter-offensive? Who is going to be the person who's going to take it off the front? Are we going to see an instant counter-attack? Or are we going to see people wussing it out and easing off the pedals? Let's have a little bit of a look. Who's going to go this time? Are we going to see another attack straight over the top? I think we've just seen one of our regulars on the front. Is Neil from the Crosscast, and again another counter attack here. So I'm not sure these guys haven't done some pre-planning. Now can Neil go clear with a few people rather than what like the bunch? Great counter attack. So Neil going on the counter attack. He's got Varty and Oliver with him. If these three go, they could stay clear. This is what we've got to see. This is the way to break up those sprints, to take out those lightweight climbers out of the equation here. 3 riders have gone clear. They've got to start working together though, because Malin's coming from behind, as is Jones, and they're going to drag this bunch across. It's going to bring the group back together again. If they're not careful, you've got to sprint clear, you've got to get a group clear, then you've got to stay clear. This long ladder of riders behind, all it's doing is giving it away to the bunch behind, because it's just providing enough draft for people to come across in 1s and 2s. And you can see this group is going to get caught back again. Once again it gets caught. Neil from the Crosscast quickly kicking up, as we see Oliver going up onto the front. Now he came through, now he puts in another kick, so he's going clear. This is going to try and break this group down, but at the moment we're seeing 1s and 2s going off the back. That group is thinning, but it is not eliminated by any stretch of the imagination. Now Oliver sees he's got a slight gap, puts in another kick here. Potts is sat behind, so's Booth, so's Miles Curry. You can just see that pack behind just starting to get a second group of form in there as Craig Genther goes onto this climb in the lead and puts in an attack on the way up the climb again. Genther's just put in another big dig here, but Booth has responded to this with some massive watts. So's Genther. This has got to be doing damage. This has got to be hurting the legs as they come up here. We're seeing huge watts per kilo each time they kick the way up here. Booth on the front, Denchi in second wheel. It's Conley now who moves up. He's put in a power, not surprised, using that draft. And guess who's right in here on home turf? Gareth Mason, the fat cyclist. He knows that he's basically racing to his front gates as he goes up that climb. He knows what bike to go for. Look at this classic super lightweight bike on Zwift with those lightweight wheels and that specialised frame. One of the lightest combos, and it has been for a long time on Zwift, and it's a great combination if you want to get to the climb up to the top. Now Mason capable of putting out some serious watts, and that climb has done damage behind. They've got to take advantage of it with Elliott now chasing behind. So let's just drop in with Elliott. Tom Elliott could well be a rider who could score big here. Question is, has he got the power to shed everybody? Ben from Bellevue goes up onto the front, and then the rider who is absolutely slaying this. He was on great form at the weekend. Kieran Smith riding on a mountain bike, holding his own in amongst everybody. Is that sure? I suspect they could not have still got that on the bike. It must have changed as we see Jimmy Allen now going. The Wolf has gone. He's looking to stretch this out early. Remember, Jimmy the Wolf, our great leader, he stands in when Russ is busy elsewhere, and Jimmy Allen, experienced on. Has he got the power to take this apart? He's opened up a gap, and as Darren down to Shawwell again, his revenge, quoting back at Jimmy, leave him out there. Well, if you do that, that's dangerous, because Jimmy Allen has the power to keep on going. He's got 4 seconds from the group behind. Let's jump in to that pack at the moment. We're just riding in with Ollie. Let's take a little bit of a look up the road now. Just seeing Tatsuya Waller going after him here. So Tatsuya Waller trying to close down on Jimmy Allen, and that is dangerous because the pair of them could well go off the front here. So it is a Tatsuya Waller. Now, don't believe he's on a road bike, not for a second, not the power is going away. I suspect he's changed mid-game, and that as he jumped into the game, it means it won't have caught up on the main game, although it will be allowing, giving him the road power, so he's not quite as much of a hero. So Tatsuya Waller, then it's Jimmy Allen just being sucked back into the group as Josh Mayland now looks to bridge across to Daryl Tatsuya Waller. You can't give away big time gaps coming into Box Hill. It's long, but it's not that long, and it means that if you've got somebody who can keep a good tempo, then that is going to make all of the difference as you come up onto the close. So it's Mayland, Jones, Conley, Booth, Ben Lowe from Bellevue, Simon Warren in here, Adrian Timmis in this group. It really is a who's who as they come through here. They got Jamie Brown in here as well. We've got Martin Conley. It really is a great group of riders up at the front, and they are closing down. Now we've got young Ketteringham, and it looks to me like this group really does contain some really good climbers. The lightweight riders who can really go on the front and really put the hammer down. Russ at the moment sitting on the front. He's not flat out for Russ. Let's take a little bit of a check. Russ at the moment still sitting 148 beats per minute, so a little bit spare for Russ in the tank. They've got about 4 seconds. You can just see that second group on the road behind. It's sitting currently for, I think, 6 seconds now. I don't believe the sun below, it's actually a little bit less than that. So the gang working well here together. Ben from Bellevue, the man whose graphics we use, who gives us the stats, and really useful when it comes to the commentary. Absolutely invaluable stuff from Ben. So the climb now starting. The man on the back is going to be Mason at the moment. He's sitting at the back and just looking. This is a real pack on here. Just see Jimmy Allen putting in the feather flag. They're just getting a little bit of assistance as they come in. Ben in that pink and grey. Then Josh Mayland in the camo kit moving up. Now Jamie Brown in the Downing Cycling coach kit, gone for a relatively lightweight and aero bike, a real mix match bike kit there. Starts to move up onto the front of the group now. Is this where we start to see the big guns really firing? He's a rider who I have had the pleasure of watching improve over the years, getting better and better. And do you know something? I wouldn't give this man a millimetre, because if you do, he could quite easily ride away from this group. At the moment, he's doing just that. He's holding just under 8 watts per kilo, 7.3s, and behind, I think they're just waking up to the danger, but I'm not sure anybody can do anything about this. Now, Brown has already got himself a 3-second gap. He's continuing to keep Kieran Smith, the nearest rider to him. Then it's going to be Jones and Booth. But if you look at the watts per kilo, nobody, I think, has got anything left after that really frantic session. You're looking at 4s, you're looking at 5s, you're looking at 3.5 from Russ. I think Russ now decided his work here is done, and he's going to enjoy watching everybody going. Ben's gone, Crosscaster Neil's gone, Mr. Conley's gone, Potts has gone, OZK, Nick Craig coming, can Craigie deal his way up here? Conley's in this group behind Osman, Lindley in this group. But we take a little bit of a look up the road. Let's take a little look at Adrian Timmis here. Can the man who's ridden the Tour do something about the riders in front? He's not panicked, but that gap is opening, and he's got to choose his moment now when he's going to put that power down. Working well at the moment. Quickly comes into this group with Elliott, and they can see him coming. They'll be watching those numbers, working out whether they can jump onto the wheels. Young Mr. Ketteringham doing the same then. Mark Ketteringham and Tom Elliott just jumping onto those wheels. They've got Booth in front. Then in front of Booth is Oliver. Then it's Kieran Smith, the man who is at the front of this group. It is Jamie Brown, and the only view we need from Jamie is one that's looking backwards, and all you can see at the moment is Kieran in view. It's 18 seconds back to Booth at the moment. So 18 seconds. Remember, this climb, they're nearly halfway up the halfway point, generally regarded as being this right-hand hairpin turn that is in front of the riders, and at the moment Brown is about to take that right-hand turn here. So it is Brown who's going to come around this turn. I'm keeping it smooth at the moment, and looks to me like he's got that gap. We're just taking a little bit of a look down onto the roadway below. Can't quite see it because of the trees. Here comes Kieran Smith behind, currently at 5 seconds. Then it's going to be Oliver coming up behind. Oliver, the nearest rider, but this is going to be difficult. It's a big ask now for Isaac Oliver. Again, another of our youngsters, only 14 years old. And Simon, who's definitely not 14 years old anymore, just to make the way up behind. Then it is going to be Adrian Timmis, who is keeping a nice pace up here, but at the moment the guys off the front really working around now. Jeremy Brown, 3 seconds, 2 seconds on Smith. Smith is putting in a little bit of a shift here, just trying to close that gap back down. You can just see Brown out to the side here. He's coming up onto the wheel. It's only at 1 second now. Now, Kieran was riding well. We've seen him in action on the Chaingang, the rider who wins the most on the Chaingang goes blasting past Jamie Brown. Can Brown respond to this? He needs to pick the pace up here. Brown starts to try and kick back, but he's not got anything. And Kieran Smith now sees the weakness in him, going for it now. And it is Kieran Brown who's gone over the top, 3 seconds back to Smith. So it's Smith at the front. It's Brown in second place. Booth currently in third place with Isaac Oliver with him. Then it's going to be the man from Cadence Sports, Adrian Timmis, leading up a train of riders. Jeffries, Elliott, Tatchell-Waller, Ketteringham, just about all holding the wheels. Genther at 8 seconds now. Absolutely flying though. Kieran Smith coming up. Remember, he's got this right-hand turn. The gradient will ease, and then he's got that long sweep around in towards the gantry. And Smith timing this to perfection. The man who took away Gareth Mason's crown of being the rider who had won the most Chaingangs after the Go had been given, who swept away Mason. He's going to take out Mason on his home turf here, and it's going to be basically going past Mason's front door. and sticking up the proverbial 2 fingers at him, I think, at the moment, because he's absolutely flayed. He's left everybody for dead. Jamie Brown behind, 10 seconds now in deficit. Starting to pick the pace up, but he's not going to have an answer to Smith, who is now well on his way in towards that finishing line. You can just see the map at the top. He's basically got this slight right-hand turn to do as he makes his way around this right-hand turn. Then he'll line himself up with the gantry. So it's going to be Kieran Smith who's going to take top spot here. It's well over that hour mark. It's going to be 1 hour and 12 and a handful of seconds here, 5 seconds as he goes through. So Kieran Smith goes through. He takes top spot. It is going to be Jamie Brown who's going to come through. So Jamie for the BCC race team are going to be in, taking second place in and through the King of the Mountains gantry. A 6-minute dead time for Smith, an absolutely stormy time now. Can Booth hold off Oliver? Oliver starts to kick Booth. He's going to try and respond to this. It's going to be close, but I think Booth just in front at the moment. It's going to be tight as they come in towards the line. Oliver's coming. Booth starts to wind it up again. I think Booth is going to take this as they come into the gantry, but that little bit of a kick from Oliver, close, but no cigar. Third for Booth, fourth for Oliver. Jeffries is going to come, just taking it, I think, is Elliott. So it's Elliott, Jeffries, Timmis, then Touchell, Waller and Genther. They come through together. Mark Ketteringham leading home AD Dench, and then it's going to be Simon Warren's going to be in the next round. He's going to be riding in through the line with Russ Downing behind Jones, almost catching up then. Ben from fellow viewer behind them. Then it's going to be Nick Craig. Craigie can see that gantry coming up to him at the moment, so it's going to be Craigie in and through just ahead of Neil from the crosscast. Neil from Gritty, our sponsors, goes through, and in the battle of the sponsors it's Scott, one of our sponsors, coming through with Nick Craig. Then it's going to be Gritty's Neil. Then it's going to be Halo Wheels Josh Mayland, a real mix going through. Then it's going to be Potts followed by Russell Osman. Osman's just trying to hold off the kick from behind here. Is he going to do it? He just holds off. Osman goes through with OZK coming, and then it's going to be Taylor immediately behind. So good riding by Rob Taylor. Then it's going to be, I think, Jimmy Allen, the next rider to the line. He's got Lindley a fair way behind with Oliver not too far behind him. So going to be tough stuff. And remember, if you are on those close, as Russ says, grab a rider, find a group. Jimmy Allen coming through those attacks, clearly taking the toll on his legs. Then it's going to be Oliver and Lindley. Lindley's going for him here. Lindley's on the side of him here. Is he going to take him as he comes through the line? Side by side as they came through. Lindley and Oliver absolutely flying as they came through there. And then it's going to be Conley and Tukey. So Tukey's going to be our next rider to the line. It's going to be the first of our women up over the line. Great riding here by Claire Richardson. Richardson comes through. She's going to have the fastest women's time up here, a 7:42. She comes through ahead of Taylor Leach. Then it's going to be Lauren O'Brien. So O'Brien is going to take the second of our women's positions up through the climb. 7:42 for Lauren, and actually just as fast a time by Lauren, but started further back on the climb, so clearly riding well on that climb. Not quite enough to catch Richardson. Simon run it in and through Woodall. Tukey, a ball coming through. Birmingham's through. Orally's through. Looks like Coyle coming through just in front of Greg Pillsworth here. And then it's going to be Arini and Pearson now, the next rider to the line. So it's going to be Pearson who's going to go through. Immediately behind him is Miles Curry, followed by Langmead and Lloyd. So Morgan Lloyd goes through, then Langmead, then Dr. D, Dubash, Langmead, Gale come through. Cooper, 6 seconds down on them, absolutely flying. We've got Nick McDermott coming through. He's going to get popped here, I think. He's just holding off. Big kick there. We saw those 12 watts per kilo coming out, holding up Vin Donahue and Dick Samuel. Then it's going to be Stevens, followed by Gale. Then it's going to be Henry Fuller. Fuller's going to come through as our next rider, just ahead of Forrester. And then Craig Henry's going for the sprint. Henry's going to get it. Then it's going to be Forrester. So Craig Forrester coming through with Craig Herring, Chris Espejo going to be our next rider through the line ahead of Gibbons. Then it's going to be Mrs. Clark, Garford, Fulton, Evans, Tracy Seeley. It's going to be the third of our female riders in through the line here tonight, I think. Just going to take a little bit of a look. Sorry, Maddie Smith coming through in that massive riders. Missed Maddie coming through. So Tracy comes through next with an 8:45. So Maddie, apologies. So Lauren O'Brien, the first of our female riders over the line. Then Claire Richardson, Maddie Smith, then Tracy Seeley. Don't forget, of course, we have the women's only Wednesdays, the WOW DCG. And that is on tomorrow. Remember, make sure you pass on the details to sign up. Ian from 1080 going through with Andy Hawes, Mr. Wilson and Clark going through. Luke Hart just on his way into the line next. So we have the women only on Wednesdays on the DCG tomorrow. Again, 6 o'clock kickoff, going up the volcano as the finishing climb. But the volcano flat with then the climb to finish. The Cannon on his way through. Barry Kipling coming through, chasing hard here, and Kipling is going to make his way into the line. And gotta say, we are looking forward to when we come back. Thursday's going to be a flat one. We're on Greater London Flat for the Open DCG. So 3 Donny Chaingangs this week. Personally, I'm then heading up to Sunderland, up towards Pershore to the park, to Harrington Park for the National Trophy. Going to be up at the trophy on the mic, and looking forward to seeing everybody in action as that. As we see Tiff Fletcher kicking away into line, and we're going to get 3 Chaingangs out of Tiff in a row. One of those riders who regularly does that. Tiff Fletcher comes through over the line there. So it's a new personal best, as does West, and that's what we want to see. We want to see these PBs coming in time and time again. Want to see these up on the Facebook page. Make sure you put them on there as well. Don't forget, of course, make sure you tag in Donny Chaingang if you're putting it on social media. If you stick it on TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, you name it, we want to see it. Our next rider to the line will be Paul Malin. Malin, the next rider on the course, coming through the line ahead of Sherwood Pines rider. That's Steve Hilbert. Hilbert just ahead of Dan Ladle. Dan just chasing his way into the line here. So Dan Ladle coming in and across the line quickly off those pedals at 9:34 for Dan. Then it's going to be Richard Healy. Healy's going to come through just ahead of Gail Phillips. Gail should be coming through. This is going to be, I think, 6th place. So O'Brien in 1, Richardson in 2, Smith in 3. Richardson beating O'Brien over the line though, and then Tracy Seeley, Tiff Fletcher and Gail Phillips, the order of players that come in and through the line. So it looks like Tiff Fletcher can't make tomorrow. We'll enjoy it nonetheless. I'm sure it's going to be a really busy one. Some great riders going to be in action. Carl Briggs going through, and then we drop back just a little way to Tim Leary. He's got Owen Davis not too far behind, and Mr. Llewellyn sat on his heels as well. So Tim Leary just coming into the turns. You can see the gradient peeling off at the top right hand side of the screen. And Tim now onto that section, and as it just eases off, you can just see that gradient ticks down. Now riders start to pick up the pace, -1.0, just hovers around that slight little descent down into the line. Just makes life a little bit easier as you come into the finishing gantry. So a busy week on the Chaingang, busy week out on the roads for our riders. And of course, don't forget we have lots more coming up. Next week, of course, is OTE week on the Donny Chaingang. So we've got some great routes lined up. Really looking forward to those. Don't forget also, of course, giveaways next week for the members of the DCG gang, the Donny Chaingang Supporters Club. And those prizes, going to be some great prizes coming out. On the basis of the number of members, it's probably about a 1 in 10 chance. It starts off at 1 in 90 6, but it quickly rattles down quite simply because we have 10 prizes for the members of the DCG gang. It's one rider, one prize, proper old school like the Chaingang. And that means that we are going to be giving away those to say thank you to the members of the DCG gang, people who donate to support the Donny Chaingang, the Donny Chaingang Supporters Club. Also big discounts, a whopping 30% discount. And to be honest, the amount of OCE products that we go through in our household, we soon get the membership fee back for the year pretty much in one purchase, I have to say, for the members of the DCG gang. So don't forget, make sure you get joined up, signed up. You can sign up just for November, but personally I'll make sure you sign up for November and December, because in December we have our 12 DCGs of Christmas, 1080, stitching that all together. Now, just going to take a little bit of a run back here. Looks like we have a little bit of a glitchy moment there as Dickinson now coming into the line. I think Jones is just going to take him here, so it is Jones and then Dickinson going through. It's a little bit of a gap back to Dassa and then to Owens. We're going to try and come across to Russ, potentially after Taylor and before our red beacon group. That's sort of the ballpark if you're hanging on waiting to see what Russ has to say at the end of the ride. Plenty of time for us to get some recovery, and he's probably rolled his way down and out the bottom of the climb down, Russ, just to keep those legs spinning. Ever the professional. So Dazza, our next rider, coming in to the finish here at the top of Box Hill on the Donny Chaingang, riding that Aero Swift bike with the deep rims as he goes in and through. He comes through 26 seconds clear of Owens. Dave Owens, a good ride by Dave, because he was distanced quite early on and hasn't lost too much time. And you can see how close he got to the people who were initially in that front group and then blew and ended up getting distanced by that big front group. So good ride here by Owens to stay at a pace and to close down so many riders. Just pushing in now towards that line. It's going to be Dave Owens, our next rider, and he's just ahead of Stefano Borelli from Nonnas in Sheffield. So Owens comes through, then it's going to be Stefano who's going to be our next rider in. So Stefano Borelli making his way into the line, the man behind Nonnas, who brings us the giveaways. And don't get Nonnas with some great prizes coming out in December. If you're wondering what to get for Christmas, then well, you could do a lot worse than what we've got to give away in the DCG giveaway for the DCG gang members, the Chaingang Supporters Club members. As we see Sean Ferron making his way into the line here. Sean, again, another good ride by Sean, holding that front group for a long, long time, then just distance coming in and through. So good riding by Sean to come in and through. Behind, I think it's going to be Spencer, and then Taylor, and then we're going to have Tick Hill and the Red Beacon group coming up the climb. And don't forget, you can catch up with all the details on the Facebook pages of the Donny Chaingang, as well as the Donny Chaingang Facebook pages. Don't forget, of course, that members of the DCG gang, the Donny Chaingang Supporters Club, all get the email that goes out to members. It contains the ride details, the details of exactly where the end of the ride is, exactly who is where, what we're going to do in terms of finish, where we're going to head, how many meters of climbing there is, who our beacons are, Swift Insider's take on it, our Insider's take on it. So when we've been checking out the routes, what we think of them, and remember, of course, Russ and myself running all our routes. Both of us choosing routes. Generally, Russ is much nicer than I am. My routes tend to be just that little bit more evil, but that's mostly because I get to talk about them and get to ride them at my own pace rather than trying to hang on to the chain gang on the way through. This week, Russ choosing routes. Next week, it is Muggins, yours truly, with the OTE week routes. We've got a classic in there that we've used regularly, and a brand spanking new route next week that nobody has ridden as part of the DCG before. The people on the gang who follow me on Zwift may well have got a quick heads up of where we're going and might have been able to work out exactly where and when we are going to be heading out on the Thursday, but I'm looking forward to seeing how that rides out on the course. Now, Anthony Spencer just coming up to the top of the climb, taking that turn just in front of the visitor centre and the cafe up at the top of Box Hill. If only it was always this sunny at the top of Box Hill. Not quite the case, particularly when you ride it in the racing. So it is going to be Spencer, our next rider, lining up for the gantry at the top of Box Hill, the end of the Chaingang. Don't forget, of course, we always have that warm down from the gantry down to the blue banner. Time to ease off those pedals, spin the legs out and get rid of all that lactic acid. Absolutely critical for our riders to do that. We're going to jump back to Simon Taylor. Taylor, our next rider on the climb. And again, Taylor just seeing those numbers on the right drop from red down to yellow, down to white as he comes up into the top of the climb. The numbers easing, the gradient easing. And this means that it just feels a little bit better as you come over the top. It's definitely a feel-good hill, this, in that sense that as you come over, you can see the gantry. You know you've got that little run down into it. When you're racing it can make it harder because you've got to push through. It's still all too easy to let the watts pile off as you come up over the top, and you're not putting in as much force as maybe you should do to try and keep yourself right up in position. That's what regularly break groups up, and that's one of the reasons we like to include it on the one of the reasons we like to include it on the Chaingang, because it's a great learning experience for everybody. If you ever ride a Swift race in the London area, then you know that if you go over Box Hill, you've got to push it. It's the same on all courses, and it's the same in real life. The power of Swift keeping a check on everyone. So Taylor goes in and through the line, our next rider through. We're going to drop down to Tickers, who's on the climb, and we're going to simultaneously, dangerous thing. We are going to simultaneously try and see if we can get hold of the bear, who hopefully not only has got his breath back, but he's got a great big pot of honey with his feet up on the handlebars, and he's just nicely chilling out at the moment as a happy bear. We'll see. Is the bear happy? Well, let's see. Russ, are you a happy bear?
Yeah, I'm not bad, mate.
Have you got a big pot of honey? That's more important.
No, I've just got another bear that's joined me in the pain cave.
Oh, excellent.
Big Bruce has just come to see me and he's wondering what's going on.
He ought to know by now. He ought to know by now, let's face it, after 18 months of chain gags.
He never normally comes in, you know. He's never been upstairs. He don't come upstairs, so he's not been upstairs. You know, and the pain cave door's normally shut. But what I did, I finished, opened the door to let a bit of steam off, turned all the extractor fans on, and in he popped. So
yeah, excellent. Good to see you, Bruce.
We're just sussing the job out, aren't we, Bruce?
Good lad. He can go where he wants, to be honest. Who's going to try and stop him? Let's face it. Got to admit, it's not going to be the easiest of tests of stopping him going where he wants to go. Great gang tonight, once we got it all together, and really interesting. Once it ramped up, you could just see the difference as people started to drop off the back. And once we went over the hill for the second time at the top of Box Hill, really did take its toll because groups got separated out. They let the wheel go. They didn't sit on the yellow beacon, like we said, and they got distance. And some people made it, some people distance, and that is real racing, isn't it? It's real riding on Chaingang.
Yeah, you know, and it's, you know, the quicker it goes on the front, you know, the elastic band snaps pretty easier. So, you know, there were a few little pinch points. You know, if it just goes up to 1-2%, you lose the wheel. And then obviously I was just trying to police the front, and I had the old go typed in my phone for a good couple of K, thinking when, and it was like now or never, you know. So you know, a few people missed it, but then a few groups came back to us, didn't they, when we all we'd sort of gone for it and then eased off before we got bottom of Box Hill, and a few guys come back. So that's great racing and working together to get back to the front.
Yep, definitely, and that's what we want to see on the Chaingang, and great training, great for us. I'm sure lots of personal bests tonight as well. We are having a busy week on Chaingang, of course, because we have women's only Wednesday tomorrow. They're doing Volcano Climb, a route that you know well, because it's something we've used quite often on the Chaingang, and definitely one that we've seen see some great riding on the gang, because we've got that flat rolling section where the chain gang really can gain momentum, and then of course we hit the climb to finish, which is steep, and the last step is the steepest of all up to the very top. So a great climb, and a great one that, to ride on.
Yeah, and I look forward to watching that.
Yeah, get your feet up and watch it. And of course, we've got Emma on Yellow Beacon Juice. Then, unfortunately, Rush will be back on the bike, as I'm sure Mark Ticker will. Tickers is who's making his way to the line, one of our regulars on the chain gang, just coming up to the top of the slope. You can see him down in the middle of the screen, just down there. Currently, just pushing his way in. You can just see Mark, another of our regulars. He's just broken clear of the Red Beacon group and just pushed on that final climb, putting in that effort to the top. And great to see Mark. He's one of our regulars on the chain gang, never gives up, and a great supporter of the chain gang, a member of the DCG gang, the Donny Chaingang Supporters Club. So a good ride by him today, and he'll be on Greater London Flat with that final kick. He knows the score. Kick it into the finishing line just to get those final few watts out as Mark Tickle comes through. 11:41 for tickets and a PB. That's exactly what we want to see. Look at that. Great result by him. And don't forget, of course, Russ will be leading the group. Any tips for anybody who's never ridden Greater London Flat, if such a thing exists?
I say, I think last time we went there, I think the dynamics had changed a bit. We went for the KOM lap and Zwifted thing that, but I think the dynamics have changed now. So we'll see how it is. There's a couple of little rises from the underpass, but maybe it'd be more realistic that you can, if you get a cruise up to the peloton, you can crest the top and then sit back in. But we'll see.
It's going to be interesting to see how it rolls, that is for sure. Well, we're going to let you get off and get that recovery from OTE done, and be ready for Thursday. Enjoy the coverage. In fact, speaking of being joined by people, I've just been joined by Indy, our trail dog, our German short-haired pointer down here. So it looks like Indy joining us in the cave down here as well. He says, I'm not sure whether we can actually
must be dog night on the DCG.
It's dog night on the DCG. Yeah, Indy. Say hello. Don't eat the camera.
Oh, live on screen.
There you go, live on screen. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Yeah. So, it's better than Bruce, who's currently taking your place apart, mate. So there we go.
No, that was me. That was just me placing the trapdoor, closing it, shutting shop, turning the tech off, and ready for a well-earned beer or brew, whichever I'm going to go for.
I think after mine, it was a recovery. It was definitely a recovery drink today. Well, looking forward to Wednesday on the women's only, and Thursday on the chain gang. Russ, thank you very much. We'll catch up with you soon.
Cheers, Matt, and cheers to all the DCG members. And great ride.
So great to catch up with Russ out on the wrap-up as we see Keith Richardson bringing Jim up, the dynamic duo, making their way up to the finish here. Another good ride by these two riders. Got to say, Jim Flynn always digging in deep and making it in through that finish. A good ride by Jim once again on the chain gang, and great to see Jim making his way in through the finish here on the Donny Chain Gang live on the Down in Cycling YouTube channel. We're just taking the watch of Jim as he comes into the line, keeping those revs nice and high, just pushing it in to that finish. Great ride by Jim Flynn here today. And of course, the one and only Red Beacon, Keith Richardson, doing the business here today, and watching those messages from Keith. It shows you these experienced riders like Keith, absolutely brilliant and invaluable to the chain gang. Without our volunteers who do that Red Beacon, it would be much, much harder for our riders who are making the way through. So I've got to say a massive thank you to Keith Richardson today, tomorrow and Thursday. Also volunteers on our Red Beacon duties, doing a great job. A massive thank you to them, and looking forward to seeing them in action as well. At the moment, Keith just on his roll down to that warm down. Remember, all the DCGs as a ramped workout have that built-in warm down in them, and we're going to leave Keith to it. So from me, Matt Payne, from Russ, from everybody on the Donny Chain Gang, Have a great bit of recovery tonight. Hopefully we'll see you all again tomorrow for the Women's Only Wednesday live on the Downhill Cycling YouTube channel.